States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Declaration and roll call and declaration of conflicts. Thank you.
Councilmember Abram? Hearing none. Councilmember Vixel?
Hearing none.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Hearing none.
Councilmember Phillips?
Hearing none.
Mayor Bublak?
Hearing none.
Okay, approval of the agenda as posted, removing item 11E. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram? No. Councilmember Vixel?
No.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes 3-2. For what? To amend the agenda? No? Mr. Pedrolakis, do you need a 4/5 vote to amend the agenda? I don't.
Find that section around the parliamentarian, I'm not sure it exists. The agenda as it's written before you, let me make sure I want I invite everyone to read the full language, which this is the time, item 4, to remove items from the agenda or to change the order of the agenda. Matters may be taken up out of order of the established agenda by a 4/5 vote of the city council. So while I think there's room for interpretation, usually when there's a more specific provision, here the 4/5 vote is limited to changing the order of matters on the agenda and not removing them.
Okay,
So,
so we're good.
yes.
Thank you. Okay, proclamations. I have economic development up for Turlock Partnership Incentive Program.
Good evening, council, city staff, and members of the public. Tonight we have a brief presentation. We are celebrating a new Turlock business that enrolled in the Turlock Partnership Incentive Program, a program that provides $3,500 to a new business that opens in Turlock. Mr. Javier Padilla of Javier Padilla CPA. Mr. Padilla completed all requirements of the program, which are: be a new business in Turlock that will operate out of a commercial location, not part of a franchise or corporate chain, submit a business plan, participate in a pre-development meeting, and agree to simple record keeping and quarterly feedback for 1 year. Mr. Padilla lives in Turlock, is an alumni of CSU Stanislaus, and loves Turlock just as much as we do. So Javier, please join us up here. Council, join us. City manager. We have a check presentation that we'd like to present Mr. Padilla.
This is important.
Good luck cashing it.
What if we hold it and you stand?
Oh,
that's a
Good idea. It's almost big enough to block me.
I know. You'll be the presenter person.
Hold on.
Let's see. Anthony, can you squeeze in a little bit? Can we bring the check up just a little bit?
You're so
Just
picky.
the left side. Perfect. All right. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. One more, and 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Now you gotta take it home and put it in somewhere.
Thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's in the hallway with a real quick.
Mr. Fisher, is that you on industrial ratepayer?
It is.
Outstanding, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, council members.
I'm here tonight to provide an update on the Temporary Industrial Ratepayers Assistance Program, which you guys adopted in October of 2024, and that was specifically to help significant industrial users manage the impact of our updated sewer rates. I last presented on this on August 12th of 2025, and I felt it was important to return and share the final update of the program. As you recall, the program was designed to provide temporary financial relief to the industrial customers most affected by the cost of service adjustment, the realignment from our sewer rate study. Funding came from $2.81 million in penalty fees collected under the TMC code 6-4-505. The sewer rate study completed in 2024 made it clear that industrial customers contributed 32.8% of our sewer revenue, but they are responsible for more than half of the system's net cost. Under Prop 218, that requires that our rates be aligned with the actual cost, which meant the industrial users faced significant increases when the new rates took effect on January 1st of last year. Rather than allowing that change to hit all at once, the council took a proactive action to smooth out the transition, providing the maximum assistance that was allowed by law under the 218 and our budget to give the industrial partners some time to adjust. The key features of the program: enrollment required an agreement that waives the right to challenge the adopted sewer rates. The participating ratepayers received assistance equal to 25% of the total sewer bill, which on average was about 37% of their net bills. Assistance continued until the allocated funds were depleted. The final month's assistance shared proportionally amongst all the remaining participants. This approach has been clear, fair, and really easy to administer, and it really ensured that the funds went exactly where we intended them. Of the 19 customers, 15 enrolled and 4 did not. These customers consisted of Turlock's large industrial users, as well as the Denair and Keys community service districts, both of which fell within our eligibility requirements. Did I skip one by accident? Nope. The budget program funds, they have been exhausted, meaning the program has concluded. The last month that with a full 25% was December. It was November, and December's bill contained approximately 4.05% assistance, and we balanced it within 2 cents. So overall successful program. Every participant in this program has been notified by email, regular mail. We've hand-delivered notices that the program's funds have come to an end. Many of them responded with a big debt of gratitude. They really liked the program, and they obviously wanted it to continue, but they understood. The council adopted the municipal code 6-409 last year, which states that that we will review the sewer rates on a regular basis. This staff is really, committed to making that happen. That way, this never happens again. The program worked exactly as we intended it to. It really reflects, your guys' foresight, and on behalf of all the industrial ratepayers and the staff of the city of Turlock, we say thanks to the council for making this happen. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Fisher? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, public participation. You got some more, Sergeant? This is the time pursuant to California Government Code 54954.3. This portion of the meeting is reserved for members of the public to address the council on matters that are not listed on tonight's agenda but are within the subject matter of the city council. And I have Alyssa. Are you ready to go first?
Yes.
Come on up.
I'm so sorry. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When I start speaking, is that when the 3 minutes
Yes,
starts?
ma'am.
Okay.
That is correct. Good question.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Alyssa Ray Samaripa. I am here to speak about my experience at the Turlock Gospel Mission. During my stay, I experienced practices that raised serious concerns regarding procedural fairness, safety, privacy, and oversight, particularly for women and children. I experienced restrictions and responses to concerns that were not accompanied by clear written explanations consistent enforcement, or a meaningful opportunity to respond. Clear policies and documentation are essential. Without them, residents are left uncertain and hesitant to advocate for themselves. Emergency shelter residents, including women and families, shared common living spaces with individuals participating in internal programs. When populations with different needs and risk profiles are housed together without clear separation, disclosure, or safeguards, it places women and children in a position where safety concerns may be silently endured rather than addressed. While staying in the women's sleeping dormitory areas, I observed surveillance cameras located within sleeping spaces that were also occupied by children. The presence of cameras created a sense of constant monitoring rather than safety and raised concerns regarding consent, dignity, oversight, and the protection of children. I am not alleging intent or misuse. However, this is an issue that warrants formal review and clear policy standards. I experienced unwelcome verbal conduct from an individual who was both a participant in the internal program and employed in a role assisting emergency shelter residents. Following this incident, I filed a police report to document what occurred and to protect myself and my child. Despite this, I did not observe an immediate staffing adjustment, nor was the director present to replace the shift. When an incident this serious enough to warrant a police report, the absence of visible safety response can leave residents feeling unprotected and unheard. Respectfully, I ask the City Council to consider reviewing oversight and accountability measures for shelters operating in the city, encouraging clear written policies on safety, privacy, staff conduct, and incident response, supporting trauma-informed training and complaint procedures, and ensuring that emergency shelter access does not require women or children to sacrifice fundamental protections. Thank you for your time and for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Alyssa. Dr. Brago, could you perhaps put her in touch with the Board of Supervisors? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Chris Richter. Come on in.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for hearing me out. I wanted to address some pedestrian safety concerns at the intersection of Berkeley and Taylor. So my wife and I regularly take walks in the neighborhood, and this time of year it tends to be in the dark. Despite wearing lights and using the crosswalk, we genuinely fear for our safety at this intersection. Cars routinely just roll through the stop sign, not expecting pedestrians to be in the crosswalk, and we have almost been hit on multiple occasions. What makes this especially concerning is that even when I'm driving this intersection myself, it's difficult to see pedestrians. There's lights and trees in the median that make it difficult it's distracting to see what's around you. I believe that drivers may be cautious, but may still not see the pedestrians that are there. I understand that a few months ago someone was actually struck at this location. I saw somebody on the ground and there being a police officer at the site. So if this is not an issue that the city is prepared to address proactively, maybe I request that there are records of dispatch to the area to see how often this is happening. So what I'm asking for, I don't think is unreasonable, but we need a better pedestrian warning symbol or a flashing crosswalk or something like that to alert drivers that there's somebody there. And probably not just on the sides, but all the way across because it's so distracting. So my understanding is that there's funding for this, such as the assessment district funds in Measure L that are available for safety improvements like this. I also understand the city is already aware of speeding concerns there, as I see little signs that say bump, like we're going to put in speed bumps. So if we already know people are speeding, I think we should pay a little bit more attention to the pedestrian safety. And then as it stands, the intersection feels like a dangerous, what I understand is a dangerous condition on public property, one that puts residents in the city at unnecessary risk. So just asking the city to take some reasonable preventative steps before somebody's seriously injured. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. I don't have any other cards. Is anybody else wishing to speak on open public comment? Come on up, sir. Hi.
Hi. My name is Spencer Jones. I have a 900 square foot house. For the past, I want to say better part of 4 years, I've been charged for anywhere on average between 28 to 46,000 gallons of water to my residents. I've called the city multiple times. Nothing has been done at all. I called today. I was told that I keep speaking to the wrong person. I am directed somewhere else. If you're gonna take my money, I need to be speaking to the right person. And this is absolutely ridiculous. I've tried everything to contact for the past 2 years, and no one has done anything for my situation. It is absolutely ridiculous. Hundreds, thousands of dollars. Nobody has done nothing. And I feel like it's pretty much, hey, do it, or we shut off your water. I've lived in Turlock for the past 10 years, love this town. How I've been treated for this, absolutely disgusted. I have been advised to come to the city council meeting to actually ask, hey, what can my city do for me? And hopefully I get a response. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher, can you touch base with that gentleman, please? Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on open public comment? Come on up.
Good evening, Milt Treeweiler. I wanted to speak about our consent calendar and the reason for a consent calendar. If you look at the agenda, you always see the notion or the notice of a consent calendar, and on it says all matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted with one motion with no separate discussion. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately as a request of the mayor or council member. The whole thing is 130 words. I'm going to continue reading it. Prior to the council action, members of the public may address the council on a consent calendar. If during the consent calendar comments, a member of the public requests removal of any item for separate consideration, a mayor or the council member may do so. Public comments on the consent calendar is limited to 1 minute per speaker, regardless of the number of items addressed by the speaker. Okay, I've attended meetings, public meetings for the last 13 years, a lot of different meetings. This is the only city that has the rule like this. And besides, I'm going to read the rule that was in the council, was in effect in 2018, December. This is just a agenda from a previous meeting. Here's what it says. It was 60 words here. Consent calendar. Information concerning consent calendar items listed herein has been forwarded to each council member prior to the meeting for study. Unless the mayor, a council member, or a member of the audience has questions concerning the consent calendar, the items are approved in one time by the council. The action taken by the council in approving the council items is set forth in an explanation for the individual items. So in other words, this is very odd that we have this convoluted thing which goes on and explains all these different criteria that you have to meet. Also, in this meeting here, the public participation time was 5 minutes. That was a prescribed time that everybody got to speak, 5 minutes. And this was just 2018. Today, it's down to 3 minutes. At this time, you could also spend 5 minutes speaking on something that was on the consent calendar. Even when it went down to 3 minutes, we could still speak for 3 minutes about a consent calendar item. This is ridiculous. One more item I'd like to bring up. I've noticed in all the other council meetings I've attended, if there is a member that on the council that is not present, the location of that person is mentioned, it's told what the reason is, they say, okay, this person had major surgery and they can't come to a council meeting, they're at home and they're on the phone. Or they're in a hotel room in Texas because they had to go see a funeral, they had to go to a funeral. It's always explained. I'd like to know where Mayor Blueblack is, I'd like to know where Mayor Monez was when she was gone. This needs to be explained to the public. We need to have this open discussion.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, was mayor's location posted this evening on the agenda, correct? Correct. For those of you at home that don't know and would like to know where Mayor Blueblack is at this evening, she is in Washington, D.C., trying to ask the federal government for money for the city of Turlock. And we're grateful that she's there to do that. Anybody else wishing to speak on open public comment tonight? Okay, Mr. Bridegroom, come on up.
Good evening, and
Good evening.
Happy New Year's, since I wasn't here last time. Just off the top of my head, I sent a couple emails, was it a couple weeks ago, or even more than that, about the housing funds, the $20 million that we think we had in housing funds, and how the project at 1143, 1145 Park Street, which we began back in July of 2016, I believe, and handed off to the Stanislaus Housing Authority. And now they are coming back, beginning that project again, and got some funding at the last supervisors meeting in December. But that funding only covered half of what they need. And they stated very clearly that they're looking at coming to Turlock for the rest of the funding. And there were 4 other projects that they had that they want to also come to Turlock to look for funding for, okay? So if you remember, I was pretty upset because we've had $20 million and we've sat on it for at least 6 years. And now a good portion of that money may go to the county to other areas than Turlock. So I'd kind of like to get a response to the email. I would appreciate a response to let me know what is happening in that situation. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, closing public comment. Dr. Borrego, you're up.
I will get a response to that, the $20 million.
Oh, if you'd like, go ahead.
I mean,
It's your
I
time.
won't right now. No, I'm just
Oh.
saying I will get a response to
Perfect.
that. A couple things I want to point out. The community engagement meeting coming up in February related to the City of Turlock and Americans with Disabilities will provide a couple community listening sessions to talk about experiences, barriers, ideas for improving access across the city. So if you are interested or you know people interested, please refer them to those meetings in February that you can find on the website. There's Small Business Expo. We're co-hosting with the Small Business Development Center and the Turlock Chamber. We'll cover a diverse lineup of funding options for small businesses and entrepreneurs, including SBA loans, microloans, small business loans. There'll be a variety of representatives there to send people. The city hired 7 new firefighters on January 20th. So that was a lot of work for everybody, getting those hires made. And then some of you have seen or asked at different times when I've made reports that the Economic Development Strategic Plan is being highlighted in various sections of that, but it's also posted on our website if you are interested in seeing that. And it talks about housing, downtown revitalization, industrial growth, infrastructure investment, and we will continue to highlight that plan throughout the next bit of time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. Anybody have anything they want to pull? Yes, sir.
8E, please.
Anybody else? Madam Council Member? Is there a motion?
Move to approve with pulling 8E.
Second. Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Vixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, let's go ahead and open 8E up to the public. Mr. Trewiler, you want to come on up?
This does not sound like a routine matter to me because this is actually could involve up to $3 million. I do have questions about it. First of all, what is being done at the present time? What bank is providing the services, or is it just been done internally? Also, I'd like to know who Tyler Payments are. They are going to be taking care of the credit card processing, and who is taking care of the credit card processing now? Will the fees, this is the third question, will the fees that the city's paying for all the covered banking fees plus credit card fees be less than the city's paying today? These are important matters. It's not really described at all very clearly in what was said. Okay, and what is the cost to the staff, for the staff to make the changes that staff has to make so that they're in compliance with this new banking rule? It's going to take staff time too. So this is a lot that needs to be explained, and it can't just be explained in a minute. It should be explained openly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on consent item 8E? Okay, we'll close the public comment. Mr. Marino, please.
You know, technically, Mayor, I just want to point out for the record, once the item's pulled, the person has up to 3 minutes to
Oh.
discuss it, if you'd like to come back.
Did you want to come back up, Mr. Treeweiler? We only gave you 1 minute. You get 3. If you want your other 2 minutes, you can certainly have it, sir.
Okay, well, I think you should change what it says in the agenda, because it says 1 minute in the agenda. And like I said, all other council meetings, if it's 5-minute council, if it's all of the meetings I've gone to, if it's a 5-minute public
Okay,
participation.
can you stay on the 5, or the
it's
80
5
item that you pulled,
minutes.
please?
It's, 80, yes, 80.
Thank you.
So, again, this is $3 million total. What implemented this? You said that you did go to 6 different banks. Did all of these banks provide a response? How did you contact them? Did you go to them personally? Did you just send out a mailer to them? How were the banks contacted? Did you follow up on the contacts? Did you get responses from all 6 of the banks? Or did you just get responses from one bank? Again, a lot of things can be done in this consent calendar that shouldn't be happening. It's a lot of times it's just a mistake. Everybody can make mistakes. But there are other times when it could be some kind of, more than a mistake. Let me just put it that way. And we have to be careful about the times when it can be more than a mistake. So this item here has a lot of questions that you can ask, and you can hear me asking them. I don't want to talk, that bank is my bank, but I don't want to say anything personal about that bank. But I had that bank for a long time. And I've had other banks and I like some other banks. They're all can be good, but they have to have a lot of experience. They have to know what they're doing. I don't know how much money this will actually save us. Is it actually going to cost us more in the long run than we're paying now? So are we going to be paying more or less than we're paying now? Thank you.
Thank you. Would you please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So quite a few questions. We'll go through it. I just want to start the overall statement about why we do this, why we put out an RFP. From any practice in general, it's good to have this overall practice to make sure that, one, we're vetting all options, which is what an RFP does, right? In addition to that, West America has been our bank for 20 plus years, right? This is, as far as paying on consent, this is not a new activity. We've done this quite a few times. It's been a little over 10 years, is why we did the RFP, to, again, go back to best practices. So that's one part of it overall. Tyler Payments is our new credit card processor. So why we did identify that in the staff report and why it's consistent is because we get a fee from the credit card processor, which is West America currently right now, that we identified a dollar amount, but we expect a reduction in that dollar amount in the staff report because the credit cards are going to go to another funding or expenditures for us. And what that does, because we did this, is to streamline our credit card processing and how it interacts with our ERP system. So it's actually creating more efficiencies. If you remember going to the past and utility aspects, we actually had to take the car behind the terminal, run it back then. We now have terminals in front of the counter where we're now in compliance with credit card processing, things of that nature. So we created efficiencies by actually making this change and creating uniformity in how we do things. So what's new and how the fees and structures come forward? Yes, we are getting better fee structure. That's one of the primary reasons why we do this, right? We do want to make sure that even though we have long-term customer service through this contract or the prior contracts, that we make sure that they're still being competitive. And so an RFP process does that. Then we make sure that the bank and whoever other service that we're contracting with is competitive. So that's why we do this. Another real reason why, a factor of why we did not change, is because of the impacts to staffing, right? Having to change banks is very substantial legwork. You now have to contact everybody that's ACHing into our banks. We have to change payroll activities. There was a lot of activities that go into actually changing these banks. It's not a very simple transaction overall. It takes a lot of staff time and a lot of dollars actually to get that done. How do we notify do the RFP process? To make sure that we get the word out there about this process and to make sure it's fair and competitive, we actually notified every single local bank to make sure that we did have a fair and competitive process. Within the RFP, it is actually beneficial for the city to have a local branch in a sense of we need to get change or anything that may occur that we can have one, a local representative to communicate with. Two, we have a local branch that we can go to if we need to do in-bank activities. So to conclude, basically how we came to where we're at, fair and competitive process. It is not something that's new to the city. We've been utilizing this bank for a substantial amount of years. And again, there's a benefit where we are impacting the fees are being reduced and having other savings overall. The 6 that are identified are the ones that responded to the RFP, not necessarily the ones that reached out or pulled documents. We do not dictate who actually submits. We just identify within the standpoint of who did submit. Is there any further questions? I think I got them all. If there's something I missed.
Anybody have any questions for him? What's the will of council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Third.
Second and third, Madam Clerk?
Thank you.
Councilmember Abram.
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz.
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips.
Yes.
Mayor Bublak.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Item 11A. And this is going to be, who's this going to be, ma'am? Paul. Director Lohr. Come on up, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I am here with Jeffrey Lewis. Again, he is President and CEO of Legacy Health Endowment. At the last meeting a couple weeks ago, we were here to talk about the Person-Centered Care Program. I walked you through the background in terms of the city's participation, which started in 2022. We talked about the funding from the city, which totaled $1 million. Mr. Lewis is here to request an additional $300,000 to support the program for one more year. And Mr. Lewis gave an annual report on the program. The item was continued to this meeting to address some outstanding questions. It's my understanding that those questions were vetted with Mr. Lewis. So I'm here to answer any questions or however you would like to proceed.
No, that's great. I'm the one that had the questions. I did get a chance to talk to him after our last council meeting in which he did answer my questions. And I don't know if any of you all have any more questions, but I'm happy to open it back up. But there's one thing I forgot to ask you. I want to know why is this program so important for you here in Turlock?
So the history is, when I was very young, I watched both grandmothers die in nursing homes. One from neglect, one from old age. Carried forward that work with me every place I've been. Established a program in Pittsburgh to build, annuities for poor older women. Built a program in Ann Arbor, Michigan to do something similar in neighborhoods. So the Turlock program is another way of saying, we're going to help elderly people who are in their homes, stay in their homes, provide services, and in a meaningful way, provide food assistance, keep them out of a long-term care facility and a hospital emergency room for as long as possible. That's at the heart of this, but it's at the heart of what I do.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for him? All right, let's open it up to the public. Anybody in the public wishing to speak on this item on the agenda? Come on up.
Is there a age criteria for this? Beyond that, I would also say I think this is great.
Thank you.
I know when I was taking care of my mom, I was able to get her enrolled in a special program that the insurance company had to where they had a set of a doctor and nurses and nutrition and pharmacists, all dedicated just to elderly people, to try to keep them in their homes, okay? And that was great. I mean, there were times to where I was able to call up at noon and get her in there before, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Programs like this can help a lot. I remember when you first presented, not first presented the program, but your first report, if I remember right, you showed us a list. It has always stuck with me. You didn't name the individuals, but you said like a 62-year-old man who was in a wheelchair and needed a ramp, and the grips in the bathroom and so on and so forth. And you kind of went through for each of your clients, showing what the program was doing for them. And I thought that was excellent because it really gave everyone, a very specific idea of, I don't know the right way to put it, but what we're getting for our money. Okay, that sounds horrible, but that's the only thing I could think of. I wish we could get that from other nonprofits, but that's off the subject. So I don't know if you have any more of that information. I'm just curious if you do, you could, I think you know my email.
I think so.
You could send that to me.
Sure, be happy to. To your question about age, typically.
Dr. Lewis, can you hold on for me?
Certainly.
Let me get my public comment closed out and see if there's anybody else wishing to speak when he's done.
Yeah. So I support the program. Okay.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Good. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, closing public comment. Now go.
So to run to your question, typically 55 and older, but if we find someone who's disabled, who's younger and he needs assistance, or the family needs assistance, they're never turned away. So it just, we just take care of a lot of people. And I'll get you that report.
Mayor Bublak, I think I forgot about you up there.
Hi.
Hi. Did you have any questions for Dr. Lewis?
Less question and more just a statement. First, he had me until he said Pittsburgh. I don't know why he's pushing Pittsburgh Steelers, but anyway. But beyond that, I believe that this is not something we use general fund. And since we don't have to for this tranche, I'm super happy. But I'm hoping that the county and the state start to realize how successful this is, and they start to adopt these kind of things that are within their purview. So with that, I'll yield back to the rest of you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment, and to piggyback off of what Mayor's comment. Speaking personally, this is, and in my capacity here, this is a great program. You're helping so many people. I am very pleased that you brought this to the city and that we've been able to support it for as long as we have. And the personal comment was, yeah, I want this for everyone, and I want all levels of government to be involved in this process. But removing the personal aspect, I want to reiterate my point from last time that we as a city have limited resources and lots of needs, and looking at this funding source in comparison to the health endowment, I feel like the time is to pass this on to your to fulfill the mission that we all want to see. So I will be voting no tonight, and I wanted to make that clear as to why.
Anybody else? Okay, we make a motion.
Yes, move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Abram?
No.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Moreno, it's your turn again.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. That's up in the sky, the speakers, the sky, but sometimes you forget. Honorable council members and mayor. The item you have before you is a routine matter in nature. We'd like to bring it forward to have a discussion per our Measure A guidelines and also ordinances, how it was adopted. It requires an annual accountability report, which we call the annual financial accountability report. The report in itself generates financial information that dictates how the funds were spent within the fiscal year, in this case, in the fiscal year 24-25. The report is also posted to the city website, specifically to the data is utilized for our new webpage. So you can see that information there as well as in the packet. So again, this is really in nature in the sense that the board itself or the committee itself has already approved this document. So at this point, I'd really like to turn it over to our chair, Mr. Shields, who will speak to the information and how the committee is working.
Tell us how you're keeping Mr. Moreno on his toes.
Oh, we always are. We always are. Trust me. But thank you so much for having me. My name is Patrick Shields. I'm the chair of the Measure A committee. Madam Mayor, I hope you're enjoying DC. I can't imagine it's too warm there right now. Council, thank you so much. Like I said, one of the things that we do at the Measure A committee is we often have discussion about how the information is presented to the public. How much of that is actually in our purview, I don't know, but we have that discussion quite often, right? We review a lot of this. A lot of these things are their numbers, right? And their numbers put into spreadsheets that show the breakdown of what Measure A is basically receiving and how it's being spent. It's pretty cut and dry. It's a typical budget and how it's being spent. Ms. Moreno does a great job though of taking all of our questions, answering them, and then providing our feedback into what you're seeing now on the city's website and the pie charts and things of that nature. We were excited to, and I think I said this last time when I presented, we were excited to be part of that policy that was put in place that kind of made some changes and put in an actual policy for Measure A and how it's going to be broken down. There is the tax measure was passed a certain way, but there was some more policy implemented and it came to the council and the council approved it. So we've been able to do small things like that, but things that are measurable and things that I hope, we hope helps bring clarity to how this is being spent. And from our point of view, we don't see any issues with it. We see that the money is being spent on roads, the money is being spent on public safety, on law enforcement and fire, and it's important. It's also important to recognize that this is a small portion of what goes into a lot of stuff, but it is a lot of money, and it is a lot of money from the citizens and the residents. And so our oversight committee, we meet quarterly, essentially every 3 months. Every 3 months we've had some really great reports, and we've seen a continuous, steady revenue flow, and we're excited to see some of the projects that are going to be funded by Measure A over the next couple of years here, and hopefully to see those big signs get, when it says Measure L and all this other kind of stuff, Measure A is going to be on there, and so some of the other things that you might not see, and if you read the report, you'll see it. The funding that goes to the public safety, like I said, we talked about that a little bit at our last meeting here, was it 2 weeks ago? We talked about some of the money that's going towards, the public safety aspect and how important it is. We know that as a committee, we can give recommendations to Mr. Moreno that he listens to us and he takes it into consideration, but he really does a great job of bringing it back to us and saying, here's what the changes that you guys have asked us to make, or the comments, or to adding this to the website, it's gotten done. So we do feel that the accountability report is well within its expectation from the citizens that serve on the committee, and so I'm happy to answer any questions, although I think he's got more of the answers than I do. But again, I appreciate your guys' opportunity to serve in this committee and to serve the city, and we're really excited to see the Measure A funds being spent and how they're being spent. So, long story short, right?
No, it's perfect. Thank you.
Can I make a request that we pull up the new visual aid that's part of this? The pie chart.
Do we have it?
It's on the website, in the agenda packet. But that leads me to my question / comment that it's looking so much more user friendly, so I'm very appreciative of that. And my actual question is a new for the fiscal year that's being reported on is the first tranche of the bond revenue. Can you clarify for everyone what the bond repayment schedule is? I apologize. apologize, City Clerk, for making this making your job more difficult right now.
Feel free to answer.
Oh, yeah. You know where the website's at, right?
Do you need Nick?
Google it. That's what I do. Just to kind of address your comments where we're pulling the information up. So yes, during the budget process, we discussed the proceeds and how they come through. Obviously, those funds are being utilized, but now they're budgeted to be expended for this fiscal year. So in the fiscal year, we budgeted about 20 million to be allocated to capital projects for roads. The debt structure is also part of the budget process, right? So within the budget itself, the documents, and in the Measure A quarterly reports, you'll see what the debt payments are going to be. I want to say they're close to 3 million, if I am close, off the top of my head. So, but that information, how that gets paid, is directly within the budget report, so that we can have that information readily available. So, to go back to your statement as well, the overall information that you're seeing now is really feedback coming back from the committee itself on how more visual aids and get the information more out to the public. The more information we can put out there that is easy to read, and again, accompany the committee, because to me, as a bean counter, I'm like, hey, it's a chart. There it is. There's a spreadsheet. Here we go. Where a more visual aid, a more better information, a better flow of how it all comes together. I really need their assistance to help me to kind of get that information out there. And they made a big push to help me get in that direction. All the reports that you see, regardless of if this one or another one, I like feedback. How did you like to receive the information? Does it work for the public? Does it work for the council? Does it work for the committee? And so that's how we come to the current documents. And I think they're always fluid. They're always being adapted. You'll see a change in the current report because now you have the roads program in there as far as how many actual projects the roads are being completed and what it all looks like. And again, that came back from conversations with the committee about where's it all going from the roads perspective. Yes, we know you're doing roads. Which ones did you actually hit? Obviously, we can't go too far into what the horizon looks like because that's more presentations that come to council. But the roads manager is being requested to come back for another presentation. We'll be discussing that with them too as well. So trying to get to them information and get as public information as much as possible, because to me, they are our sounding board, right? They're the people that get talked to as far as how does it work in the committee and what are you guys doing. So overall, a lot of it comes through the budget process and through the council, but also through the committee. Okay.
Questions?
Are there any, excuse me, are there any projects delayed at all?
All the projects that are going to be in the roads program, we're full steam ahead. Nothing's going to be delayed whatsoever. Even if a project got delayed, I guarantee the roads manager is going to shift and move, and we'll put another project in there. So we are head fast, and that's why we issue the debt, and we're holding to what that looks like. I'm very hands-on when it comes to the roads program budget, and we work hand in hand to make sure that we stay consistent with those numbers, and we can continue to fund it. But at this point, I can say there's no delays. We are full steam ahead.
Mayor Bublak, are you up there? Questions or comments, ma'am?
I didn't go down there before. I got snacks, but it's
Hello?
Ma'am?
No comments.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and open it up to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak on this item, come on up.
Yes, Milt Treeweiler, and I'm proud to say that I was the grassroots that got this off and on its way. A friend and I bought 200 signs, and all the Yes on Measure A signs that you saw in Turlock, except for the very large ones, were actually paid out of my pocket and her pocket. We split it 50-50. We went door to door. I personally went door to door to hundreds of houses here in Turlock to make sure that people were aware of Measure A. There were other people in Turlock who were opposed to Measure A. And so it was a good battle. We won by, I believe it was 73% of the vote voted for Measure A. So I'm really proud that being grassroots really does pay off. And I just want to go back a little bit here and say that no one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. But when you rushed me up here to talk about 8E on the agenda, you actually forgot to vote the whole consent calendar through. So only one item on the consent calendar is passed, and that's 8E. You didn't get any. You didn't have a roll call vote on the others. So anyway, no one's perfect, so don't worry about that. But be a good citizen. Everyone needs to be a good citizen. They need to come to their council meetings and they need to speak up, because if things are right, that's good. If things are wrong, it needs to be pointed out. That's what government is about. That's what a democracy is about. And Measure A is a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Come on up.
Just some comments on presenting to the public. That pie chart is very good. I took the pie chart and your expenditures there and kind of combined them together into one chart, put it on Save Turlock, and I can never tell how they're going to be received. I kind of figured that, you know, something about finances is not going to get too many people to look at it. I was surprised. There was a lot of people. A lot of the post reached a lot of people, actually generated a lot of comments. I was actually surprised by some of them, to where some people said, roads? I thought this was supposed to be just for public safety. And then other people were saying, you know, about roads, well, you're not fixing any roads. Why aren't any roads getting fixed? Yeah, I tried to explain over and over, it's a $250 million problem. We're not going to solve it in 1 year. Kind of a suggestion I might have, and from your quarterly reports, one of the things that I have found of interest that I think people would like is when you show the number of people who are employed by, you know, the police officers, the firefighters, so on and so forth. I think that is a good breakdown, and I believe that the public would be interested in that. Is there a way that with roads, if I remember right, on that chart there, further on down, you had the list of all the roads, yeah, right. But, you know, I didn't put that up. I mean, even I didn't look at that, okay? I know this is asking a lot, but is there a way that we could take the map of the city and maybe highlight the roads that we fixed? You know, over the year, maybe that might be a way of presenting that.
I know that the road doctor's got those maps.
Yeah, okay.
And the overlays that go with them, but that's something we would have to research with staff.
Yeah, so it's just an idea, just a thought that came to my mind as I was listening to your presentation. But so I think definitely you've made good improvements, you know, on the pie chart, so on and so forth. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Come on up.
Good evening. I'm Mary Jackson. I didn't make it because of athletic events. Anyway, I would love to see Measure A money, and I don't know if it's possible to do this, spent on somehow, I don't know if it can be on the homeless, but I think it needs to be addressed. And I feel like I'm invoking the Groundhog Day story again, because we just had a situation at We Care where a man was on the ground, had probably been ill for a week, in terrible pain, didn't want to go to the hospital, didn't want to go via ambulance to Emmanuel, convinced him to go. This was a Saturday of the 49er game. That's why we were actually originally there, was to try and get the game on TV. Long story short, Saturday we took him in. He was looked at, scanned, did not, make sure you're paying attention, scanned, and he was let go. And they shouldn't do that because they had already given his room away at the shelter. So we figured out a hotel room, brought him back, talked to Dr. Reap, and told us what to do. We went back on Sunday. He got admitted very quickly, and it turns out he had kidney stones, a UTI, his liver and heart were infected, and he has hernia issues as well. I mean, he was really a mess, and so we don't have health care. I just talked to Jeffrey Lewis on the way out, and he told me Golden Valley Health Clinic has a van that goes around. Kaiser used to come. And he also gave me a suggestion about eyeglasses. But it's those kind of things. 25 years ago, we had a man, or 20 years ago, we had a man, Mick, who was ran over. And if you look at the cost and net benefit analysis of how this happens, it's ludicrous. It's why our health insurance costs are so expensive. I do want to say I'm extremely pleased about the road work. Sidewalks were fixed on our street. We have a new road. It did take 4 months. I'm not exactly sure, like right in my northeast neighborhood, there's about 10 streets that are being paved. We did have like Miraflores paved, and it was done all at once. But now we've got like, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle trying to get around our area. And we're by Turlock High, and we're by Julian. And so it's just really, I wish it seems like we've got one street that's all broken up, and then we have another street that's closed because it's dirt. And so it's like, it's just hard to maneuver. I think Mr. Bixel would probably agree with me that it's a little chaotic. I'm appreciative. I will not complain. And they did a couple of things that were quirky, like putting on asphalt on Halloween, and it got on everybody's shoes and clothes and things, but they fixed it the next day. So my 2 cents. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, we're going to close public comment. What is the will of council?
I will make a motion to approve, but I'd like to make an additional comment. I understand that the motion before us is to approve the accountability report. I'm going to take a little bit of liberty in the spirit of accountability to just make a comment about the expenditures there. So we've changed our policy and we are not funding the general fund reserves anymore. However, those funds are still there in our general fund reserves. Our reserves we are in a very fortunate position that we have a lot more reserve than our policy says that we should need. And I would just like to put it out there that I believe that it is in keeping with Measure A policy and our general fund policy if we were to see items that come back to support our public safety infrastructure. So I would like that to be known. And I have a motion on the floor.
For both resolutions, ma'am?
We have 2. I will, but
I have 2 on mine. Do you need 2, ma'am, or 1?
Just accountability.
that's C.
I'm sorry. You're right. But it's blending all together now.
I understand.
There's a motion and a
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember April.
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz.
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips.
Yes.
Mayor Bublak.
Snow got her.
Mayor Bublak?
Okay, we have lost Mayor Bublak. Okay, Madam Clerk, can I say that passes 4-0? Thank you. All right, it passes 4-0. Folks, it's 7 o'clock. We are going to take a 5-minute break and be right back at 7:05.
She can't hear. She's having like problems. Hey, nice seeing you. Good job. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Can I pull this open?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are co-hosting, okay. Excuse me. In terms of the audio? Sound. Just like speaker. I'm gonna leave it.
gonna turn it up a hair. It's delayed though. It's gonna be delayed. So I don't know if there's any physical adjustments on the Zoom end yet, but just keep me posted, and we'll jump up and check. She's called in right now. She'll. She dropped. You're right. Is that okay? Yeah. I think we'll keep it running, and if she joins again, we'll should pop up. We can let you.
All right, and we are back. Moving on, I believe we are on item 11C. Jen, come on up. This is the one with two resolutions. Yes,
Right here.
this one.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. The item before you is approving the sale of two city-owned properties to Great Valley Housing Development Corporation, a nonprofit affordable housing organization. The city of Turlock currently owns 3 residential properties that were purchased with the intent to rehabilitate up to housing quality standards and either transfer to a nonprofit agency to provide affordable rental housing or sell the houses to income-eligible first-time homebuyers. Currently, one of the 3 properties is tenant occupied while the remaining 2 are vacant. One of the vacant properties is currently in the process of being sold through the city's first-time homebuyer program. A request for proposal, or RFP, was issued in December of 2025 for 2 city-owned properties located adjacent to one another on Birchwood Way in Turlock. 573 Birchwood Way is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family unit that is vacant and was purchased in 2023 with Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG funds. The unit was rehabilitated in October 2025 utilizing permanent local housing allocation, or PLHA funds, and home funds. The property was appraised in April of 2025 for $420,000. 591 Birchwood Way is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family unit that is currently occupied with a tenant and was purchased in 2021 and rehabilitated that same year with CDBG funds. The property was appraised in June 2025 for $410,000. Both properties will have deed restrictions, ensuring the properties remain affordable housing. 573 Birchwood for 55 years and 591 Birchwood for 30 years. Proposals were received for both properties. After thorough review of the submitted proposals, the loan committee recommended awarding the transfer of both properties to Great Valley Housing Development Corporation. Great Valley Housing Development Corporation is a nonprofit affordable housing organization based in Modesto, California. They have over 25 years of experience developing and managing affordable housing throughout Stanislaus County. It was determined that Great Valley Housing Development Corporation demonstrated a strong understanding of preparing financial budget projections and submitted a more thorough proposal than the other applicant, indicating strong extensive experience in providing affordable housing. There was also a green sheet that is to correct typos of incorrect numbers on page 3 and 4 of the loan document for 591 Birchwood. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Why the difference in the years, from one property to the other, that are next door to each other? You said one's 55 and one's 30, as far as?
Right.
just-
The one for 55 was done with the PLHA funds. That's one of the requirements of PLHA.
Anybody else? Ms. Figueroa, can you elaborate a little bit on why transferring this to a nonprofit developer was the best course of action in the recommendation?
Well, one of the Birchwood properties is tenant occupied, so we did not want to have to relocate that tenant. Also, we believe that the properties, because they're adjacent to each other, they're just good for a nonprofit portfolio to provide affordable rental housing. We felt that that was the best course of action for those two properties.
Councilmember?
I would add, it has not been simple to move properties for sale in this cycle. So transferring to nonprofits was, if you will, simpler.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, you don't by chance have the mayor back, do you? Okay, thank you. Any other questions before I open it to the public? All right, let's open it to the public. Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Come on up. I'll just put it wherever you want, it's okay.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Kim Ryan. I'm here on behalf of Great Valley Housing Development. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to City Council and to staff. You guys did a great job. We look forward to your consideration of this, and we wanted to provide, if you had any questions or, you wanted from me, I could help you out with that. Again, just thank you for the opportunity to submit this proposal, and we look forward to possibly working with City of Turlock. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Come on up.
Okay, let's see if I can formulate my questions. One of the kind of ongoing thoughts, issues that I've had with all of this is the lack of feedback to the council and community about what benefits to the community are we getting out of the expenditure of over these past years of many millions of dollars. Okay, buying houses, rehabilitating them, and giving them to nonprofits. Information, when Jeffrey Lewis was up here, I referred to, his chart about people that they helped and how they helped them. Now, obviously, you can't be naming people, okay? But basically, we're spending money that's meant for housing programs in the city of Turlock. And after that money is spent, we give it to an organization. And as far as I know or have seen in the 7 years I've been coming, we don't get really any presentations about what the benefit to the community is, okay? Both from the people who are helped, okay? And from the rental money that the organization gets to keep. Now, in some cases, like with We Care for their fourplexes on Lambert Way, they've been told that, the rental money they get helps them, with their operational costs for their shelter. I believe that United Samaritans Foundation is, for the places here, we kind of know where some of that money is spent. Okay, but for organizations outside of Turlock, what benefit does the city of Turlock get, the residents of the city of Turlock get from that rental money that they get to have, because we spent hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars that could have been spent in other ways, okay? So that's one question I have. I also had a wild out-of-the-box thought that if you wanted to, since these places were next to each other, you could have perhaps turned the garages into ADUs. There's enough room in the backyards for at least a one-bedroom, if not two-bedroom ADU. And perhaps you could have a complex there that you could work with the county and or the school board. I'm told that there's a fair number of homeless children, teenagers, or like Mary Jackson was talking about, elderly people. So.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close the public comment. Dr. Borrego. You want to answer before the vote, please, if you don't mind?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
I want to say this in the least offensive way. You heard these properties have been sitting here for multiple years. The housing staff is just over a year old now that are working on these properties. They spent months digging out properties that the city had made loans on and people had passed away, and I mean, those files are in boxes. These houses were sitting empty when I got here in March, and Jennifer, well, she's smiling about it today, but she wasn't. She told me that the first property was going to go for sale in March of 26. And I was like, oh no, wait, we can't do that. I'd like them all for sale or donation by December of 25, and she managed not to throw anything at me. But that staff worked really hard to be able to sell the houses we could sell and put homeowners in, and we will only, I've mentioned those at in every report I've done, with the real benefit one that makes me get choky still is the woman who got keys for she and her husband. I mean, she and her 16-year-old son, just right around the holidays. The houses that were bought, I don't care if the house is 450, 470, 400,000. Those are not first-time home buyer homes. Even with $100,000 down, we're still talking about $350,000 homes for people who don't fiscally qualify. The second thing about these funds are, and I mean, you don't know my politics, but I'm as blue as you get, and I have started to wonder if we spend more money managing HUD than HUD puts into communities, because our staff tie themselves in knots. I will also say there was no staff paid to manage those loans. In fact, the $20 million you mentioned is consortium money that the mayor backed out of. When I first heard she said backed out of the leadership, I just thought, oh man, why would anybody do that? Well, today I know. A bunch of that money was put out into projects and rolled back because they couldn't make it happen. And when you talk about that money sitting there for 6 years or so, it is, but it is also county money that Turlock was paying to manage. We were paying for these houses. That house on Jason, we bought a house with a monthly HOA fee, which is also, again, not something you want to mess with first-time home buyers. So the longer they sat, the more they got torn up, the more we had to put into them. And frankly, I briefed council to say we will move them as quickly as we can for the populations targeted. I'm really pleased that we did a first round of RFPs and we didn't get nonprofits that wanted them. So we did a second round of RFPs and got the 2 going there. So anyway, I just wanted to say there's some really complex history around that money. And I will say you lied if you quote me on what I said about HUD. Thank you.
With that said, you know, I'm always credit goes where credit is due person. And you, Miss Figueroa, and you, Dr. Borrego, my daddy would say she grabbed that bull by the horns when she got here and has cleaned up quite the mess in your department. And I know you were pulling your hair out like less than a year ago. So thank you. Job well done,
Thank you.
Sue.
We have
Thank
a
you.
great team.
Truly. That was an undertaking and you guys did it. So what's the will of council?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Abram. Yes. Councilmember Bixel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Menez.
Yes.
And Councilmember Phillips.
Yes. Passes 4-0. Okay, no mayor. All right, moving on to 11D. Mr. Moreno, it's your turn again. You have a lot of turns tonight, sir. Woohoo. Come on.
Thank you, council members. The item we have for you is a presentation and a request to develop a new business incentive program revolving around capital facility fees reduction. So just a little history of the overall. We've talked briefly about, as even mentioned in the city manager report, that we've done a study as far as how we can better do our economic development strategies and how we do proceed in the future. One of the items that was called out within that report that's posted on the city's website is to develop a business incentive program to be able to entice new development going forward. So this program is here to help assist with that. So the business incentive program, capital facility fees reduction, we're going to discuss what are capital facility fees, proposed CFF is traditionally called, what we call them, a reduction program and how that's going to structure. Why would council consider a fee reduction? I mean, coming from the finance director, that's going to be a little odd, right? I mean, just like, no, don't do that. But as examples of why this program and how it makes sense. So capital facility fees. So capital facility fees are basically a form of what we call impact fees. Impact fees are established and charged to new development for purchase and overall when they do new construction. What it does is allow us to do infrastructure needs from the impacts of the development that are coming in. Some example of the programs that we currently have of impact fees is the East Wallaby Master Plan. We have the West Side Industrial Specific Plan, Northwest Triangle Master Plan, Morgan Ranch Development Fee Impacts, North Turlock Development Impact Fees, and also Park, Sewer, and Infrastructure. These fees and programs are developed in an excess to be able to, one, make sure that the impacts of these developments are actually maintained from an infrastructure standpoint, whether that's public safety or some kind of sewer, water infrastructure, or even roads, okay? Proposed CFF reduction program. So just to understand a little bit how the program is going to be structured, we'll first talk about how the actual information is presented. So for a CFF, it has multiple components. The first was then they developed or the adopted report, you have what we call the land category. So you're going to kind of see me step into what it all looks like. So the land category consists of residential, commercial retail, commercial other, and industrial. It now tapers down into the fee areas. So one category is downtown / PPA. PPA actually stands for, and I had to make sure I write it down because it's not a common use, pedestrian priority area, as well as master plan areas, and then city infill. All this comes into conjunction to how the fees are actually calculated. The next step in tier down is actually for the facility category, public facility categories. This is now broken down even further into actually where the rates are going to be developed for transportation, general government, public safety, and fire. The program itself. Again, the program itself, in essence, is developed around business incentive program. So what is being proposed today is to identify those items within the report that actually identify commercial retail, commercial other, and actually industrial. Why these items? So there is, again, a residential component to the thing, but we really want to focus on with this program, a business incentive program overall. I think there's different things that you can do for residential, but for today, we're really talking about this. I really want to stress that I think this is the beginning of how we do economic development today, and we're going to take different steps going forward and how we make strides to make things more enticing from a citywide perspective on how we do things. Proposed city fee reduction. So, let me go back one more slide just to get a little bit of picture. So what we're proposing today and looking at the categories overall is a 25% reduction of those fees. So just to kind of put that from a numbers perspective, these fees were actually adopted back in 2013. Within that time frame, these fees have escalated from a quarterly basis up to today about close to 50% overall. So we looked at different ways to overall structure this program has to do. We looked at the financial impacts of that percentage and how it all came together and came to the formulation of what you see here before you today. Because you can't set limitations and boundaries, you really have to come down to more of a fiscal analysis of what these impacts may be. So one project, and you'll see some of the examples in the later presentation slide, you could have one major project that can really impact you overall. Since you can't set limitations or caps in the nature, you really have to make sure you control a little bit. So looking at what the growth of these fees have done over the period of time, we come to a conclusion of looking at 25% of more manageable from how we can take this on, this program, manage it going into the future, but also make sure that we can mitigate any large impacts that may be coming forward. So to ensure that we can maintain this program, it's kind of how we deal with the overall money and what it's doing. Yes, we are proposing a fee reduction within this impact fee structure or CFF, but to make sure that we don't impact future improvements that are going to be required of us, we are proposing to request an appropriation of $500,000 coming from our Fund 120 Tourism. So what does that mean? So traditionally, you can make an action to reduce the fee, but because we're dealing around impact fees, so let's take impact fees and how they're collected. Their intent is to make sure that we do improvements at a future date. If you don't backfill these dollars and account for that, what you're going to end up with is a downstream problem. So what you'll end up saying is a developer is going to come to you saying, hey, I gave you my money, you're supposed to be building this. Why haven't you built this? And if we don't collect the necessary fees to be able to come at a future date and do those items, we end up with another different situation. So we really don't want to be in that overall. The overall amount and how we came to that is we're looking at different proposed fees as far as what permits are being done. We looked at future ones. We looked at 5-year look-backs. We looked at a lot of different analysis to kind of come up with the information and came to the conclusion. We even started talking about, well, maybe more to get the program started. Really what we came down to is development itself is difficult. To try and suggest that when it's going to come in, when it's going to occur, is very difficult. We may get an application today that may be going through the process because the developer is waiting for the perfect time to pull the trigger, still assessing information, still wanting to see what the project looks like, trying to make sure the market is right, and you could be 2 months down or 2 years down the line, and they're still talking about the project, not foreseeing that we're holding the project up. It's just at this time, it's not a priority for that developer. They may be focusing on another area or another project. So you can't predict when it's going to come in. You can really manage it, foresee it, help it grow and get it to the finish line, but you can't really force the developer to actually pull the trigger. But again, going back to what the intent is, we're hoping this will actually entice them to take advantage of what we're currently doing and the funds that are being available to them to be able to entice them to actually pull the trigger and pull those permits. So the funds are being requested to be pulled upon or pulled towards this program and be issued during the permit process to the appropriate funds. So in other words, we go back to the categories of transportation and public safety. The funds will be allocated within the tourism fund for an expense, but will not be actually allocated to the CFF programs until they're actually impacted. So in other words, we're holding on to that dollar amount. We only utilize those dollar amounts when actually utilized from the program itself. Why would council consider a fee reduction? So fee reductions and the benefit overall of this program attract new businesses, right? What is the development itself always looked at? The ROI, the return on investment. It always comes back to the return on investment and how they can recoup their money and how fast. If it doesn't pencil, it's not going to make sense to them, okay? Lower economic burden on construction and commercial. Coming out of COVID, we've all seen the spikes in construction. Very expensive to do things. The material market, whether you want to say tariffs or whatever it may be, has really gone very high and it's spiked. creates new jobs. One of the best impacts you can do from is job creations. Why is that important? Creating new jobs, put back into the community, creates more sales tax, allows people to afford new houses and things of that nature. Increase in sales tax and property tax. The general fund. What is the primary funding sources when it comes to the general fund? Sales tax and property tax. By being able to find new mechanisms that we increase those overall revenue streams, we can produce the actual services that we need to make sure that we maintain our budget, balance our budget, and add to our budget in future years. Some examples of the impacts. So this example is a drive-through. It is actually real numbers. It's not pre-calculated in some sense of the way. So their total impacts, when we talked about those other plans and what it all looks like for impact fees, for this actual permit was $261,000 and some change. The CFF total itself was $111,000. Now, using this methodology of 25%, you can see that their overall savings of the overall category would be very well about 31%. This table's wrong, sorry for that. But you could see a reduction of this overall calculation close to $30,000 of what it came after their overall program. The next one, you'll look at overall, again, the table's error, as a commercial building itself as a warehouse/office. Their total impacts were $163,000, or their CFF was about $61,000. So you can see a reduction of 25% coming out of that overall topic. Not a large impact, but what I'm trying to show you is a unit scale. All projects are different depending on what they are and how they get charged. So you may see some projects get a larger impact, but you may see that, it still helps a project. $7,000, $8,000 from a commercial project that's just basically a square box in a sense of the way can help them come to the fruition and make a better decision overall on when they want their project to come to fruition. So to kind of conclude, the unit scale of how this is going to be managed and flattening it out makes the program a little more manageable, but it also makes a benefit across the board for all business entities that come in. So regardless if you're doing a retail space, a warehouse space, any entity that's going to create some kind of increase in impact and benefit to the community is going to benefit from this overall program. Is there any questions?
I have a question, and this is more of a planning question, so I don't know if Director Werner can jump in perhaps, but how, okay, thank you for including what community facility fees are. Generally, how are they calculated? Because you alluded to all projects are different, right? And I assume it has to do with the size of the project and what type of use it's gonna be. So can you please elaborate on that?
Sure. So in the staff report, you'll see a table of how these fees are actually going to work. So the calculation themselves is set with what we call an adopted nexus report. This adopted nexus report justifies how the calculations come together from the infrastructure that is planned that needs to be done via this report. So let's take transportation. You need to do this road, this road, this road, this road, and this road, right? Regardless of what it is, they come up with that dollar amount, and that becomes into the impact of the rates that needs to be collected. Now it's actually restructured in the sense of what is the actual type of business that you're actually impacted. For example, a gas station is going to trigger a different transportation amount versus a small office complex, right? Their impacts are different. So they're generally gone through the Nexus report, given information as far as what their impacts, and that's how they justify the overall overlapping of how it comes together from the formulation of the dollar amount. And they even break it down from areas, right? So some areas, let's call Monte Vista Crossing, you're gonna have different impacts of what that all looks like. So it comes down to what the project type is, the general area, and what projects need to be funded.
Okay, so I'm hearing that the calculation really depends on, the impact that they're gonna have. So would it be fair to say that, the goals that you listed there that, why would council consider this, sales tax, workforce, new businesses, et cetera, there's not necessarily a direct correlation between like a very intensive use that could get a very big dollar amount in this fee reduction, but doesn't necessarily include a lot of jobs, or maybe it isn't a new use or something like that. It's a little apples to oranges.
It does in a sense of the way that the biggest category in there as far as what your fee is going to be your transportation. So let's take a large impact warehouse, large distributor, constant trucks in and out. That is going to categorize a little bit higher where your rates are higher and their impacts are higher. So by categorizing them into those type of facilities, you try to capture as much of the impact overall to cover those costs and what they're actually impacting the community. So the next report does try to capture that sense of the way, but it can't capture and break down into every single little unit, right? So in this case, a warehouse structure that falls into that category, this usage is still the same, so depending on what it looks like. You may have a different use because of the commodity or how it's being utilized. The impact may be a little different for that, but given how you structure the fee, you can't really break it down to a billion different types in the sense of the way of how the fee is going to be calculated. I hope that answers. Yeah.
Can you, and this may not make sense coming from somebody not very smart. We're spending $500,000.
Correct.
What do you see the time frame to see the return on investment from this for the city?
So the majority of the projects we looked at and how, because I came in from a financial structure too as well, right? I see for what we put in, how is it going to come back? And we talked about that as far as jobs creations, sales tax, and property tax. Traditionally within the projects, I saw the money flow back to where their benefit was to 3 to 5 years of how their sales tax potentially can drive in. Now, because I can't specifically say this type gets this, I can say this retail gets this retail gets this, and they're all the same. It's a little different on how that's going to flow. But looking at some of the, for example, the item that we talked about as far as the retail, the drive-through location, 3 to 5 years, simple.
And you also mentioned possibly doing something for housing, or for our residential development.
So I think what you're going to see coming out in the future is a lot of different programs being looked at. Housing has specific programs such as CFDs and things of that nature that assist development. But we're going to look at a bigger picture in the sense of the way of how these things come together. So another example is currently impact fees can be deferred for a period of 5 years. We already had this program in place. It's not successfully structured in the sense of the way where I think it'd be better utilized. So it's we defer impact fees over to CFO for housing, which we already do. So we already have some small program in place for housing and structure. But what I'm referring to is restructuring that program to make more sense today. So what's happening in that program is you're getting interest rate factor. Okay, we're acting like the bank. Not a major overall impact, but they're also escalating that fee. So what I want to do is come back and create a new program, keep the same core intent, but reduce that escalating factor on the fee and just charge that in factor and keep it simple and move it across the board. So when you're double structuring that sense of the way, you really just charge them twice in the sense of a rate increase. So we want to really simplify what that all looks like. But again, it's really coming back to what the program is going to look like in the future and different types that can be utilized and different tools that can be utilized on different aspects of what we're doing.
One of the things I want to add is you all have heard this. Turlock's not business friendly, or it's hard to do business. And I would say to you, this is one step in a multi-pronged approach to begin to get word out that we are open for business. It's managed growth on our way to the next general plan process that you'll get engaged in. And this, along with all of the work we did reviewing the processes and moving to online permitting. So it's just multiple steps in trying to get word out that we're open for business.
Yeah, I think one of the main things, the caveat to that statement too, is it's funny when Sue came in, her city manager, the first thing she kept hearing is our fees are high. Our fees are high. Now, let me be frank. Developers are always going to say your fees are high, right? But doesn't mean we should not be business friendly in a sense of looking at our fees. And this is kind of where that structure came from as far as how can we come back and do a business program. Business incentive programs such as this are not abnormal. A lot of communities are doing them. They take management, they take time, and they take financial interest, but they are feasible to be able to maintain and move forward.
Thank you. Councilmember? All right, let's open it to the public. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I just ask one more
Please,
question?
please.
You mentioned, the budget allocation of $500,000 from the tourism fund. Can you clarify how much is there? How long could this go?
So within the document itself, the resolution that we're adopting, it says we're going to look at it from an annual basis. I go back to how development flows and when it comes in. You can't predict of when this funds are going to be utilized. Or again, you can get a major project and blow this money out within tomorrow. I mean, that's not going to happen given what we're seeing, but it could occur. So you really have to manage it from a monthly basis and see where it's all coming from. The budget is a trigger to have that conversation per the resolution, but it's not the end all and see all. If I see finance going to manage these money as they go out, if I see, let's say we come to a certain dollar amount and say, hey, we really need to have a conversation if we're going to continue this program or not. The next trigger, again, within the document itself, talks about how old this document is, the CFF Nexus report. So the trigger, again, to have the conversation about where this program is going to go and what our fees are, is actually to get the fee program updated. Let's talk about some real information, real-time data of what the numbers are supposed to be, and let's have that conversation again. So that's the nexus of it's multiple prong going through. This is not the end all of all programs. I'm saying this is a beginning to become business incentive programs friendly, but also look at our fee structures as a whole.
Thank you. Nuts and bolts, though, like how much money is in the tourism fund and what is the revenue regularly?
So the tourism fund is from a reserve perspective coming out of the prior fiscal years is about 1.2. So can it sustain this program? Looking at past histories, utilizing these funds would take close to a year. Again, that could fluctuate to 2 years depending on how things come in. But that's why you really got to manage it. Okay.
No, sorry, it's all good. All right, let's open it to the public. Anybody in the public wishing to speak on this item? Closing the public comment. Nobody wants to talk to you about this item. Mr. Moreno,
They're tired
Mr.
of talking to me.
Petrolakis, do you want to talk about this item? No. Okay, excellent. What's the will of council?
Well, I want to talk about this item. Yes, I very much want to participate in dispelling the decades-long Turlock is hard, blah blah blah. And I'm really glad that Dr. Borrego mentioned the economic development strategic plan because we did that. It hasn't actually come to council, to my knowledge, and for me, this item right now is a little bit premature because, you know, in our conversations ahead of time, you know, and you alluded to it now that like this is part of a larger kind of policy kind of thing. I want to have those larger policy conversations of like, what are the tools out there? And, you know, what are our specific goals? And I was informed that our economic strategic plan is online, and you know I would point to it where it says, you know, before you do any new programs, make specific goals. Do you want to help small business? Do you want to expand job creation, etc.? And you know, just the fact that I know that there are legal reasons why we had to just say 25% across the board, but I have a little bit of trouble saying that. Okay, we could have a development that is not a very big tax, sales tax provider and maybe does not create a lot of jobs, but could, because of their impacts, use up a lot of this subsidy. And so I want more. I want to hear more alternatives before I want to, because I think, this is a little bit of creating a liability, right? I think that it's going to be hard to raise fees again and to roll this reduction back. And, again, I'll go back to my earlier comment. We have limited resources, right? So I want to see a little bit more.
Is that a motion? What kind of motion is that? I'm going to second it, whatever it is, but what kind of motion is that? Because I agree with you. It's a little bit premature. I concur with everything that just came out of your mouth.
Well, I would move to table this item and to, at the very least, bring back the economic development plan, because I want to hear more about what the tools are that we pay the consultant to tell us about, and for all of us to be able to talk about what our priorities are and how we can achieve them.
Mr. Petrolakis, can I do that?
I was conferring with the clerk, so if you could repeat your question. I think you caught me conferring with the clerk, probably is the way to put it. Yep. Can you do what?
Can we table it?
Yeah, I would prefer a date certain, table
How much
and continue
time
to date certain.
do you need, and how much time do you want? Because I feel we need a little bit more data too. So do you think 1 meeting or 2?
I would want to defer to staff on how long will it, I know that a lot of work went into this, so I do not want to, say, please make a whole new plan
No.
in 2 weeks. But, I want to see the consultant that we paid about our economic development. So can we say table until no later up to a time?
Can we say the second meeting in February? Is that enough time? Because I don't want to discredit and discount the work that staff and the efforts that staff have put into this, because it's big.
Yeah.
We see that. I see that. So
You can table it that way, and despite that I didn't want to talk about it, I'll give you this framework for it as you consider it in the future. Because we had special counsel work this up, and I talked to her last week, and so, this has been very thoughtfully done, but there's limits on what the city can do, because what happens is, this goes really to Councilmembers Abrams' sort of line of questioning, which is, it'd be very tempting for a city to get really excited about the new Major League Baseball stadium, right?
Sure.
And roll out the red carpet, but in California, cities get in trouble when they do that. You can't really pick winners and losers, because you will take a private project and then inadvertently make it a prevailing wage project, for example.
Right.
The whole,
Right.
which most private big projects, they're usually paying prevailing wage, but, you can trigger that in situations where, the applicant, the project sponsor doesn't want it. And so really the flexibility is in two areas. You can, so you can't basically pick winners and losers within a category. Your fee program has a number of categories of how the fee is charged, like, of retail and industrial and, different categories. You can pick different categories, within the categories. If you like one category over another, you would have flexibility there. The other flexibility is you have a number of capital facility fees, like for roads, Isaac mentioned, mostly it's roads. You probably have police station, fire station, that kind of thing. You also pick in those categories. The subsidy the fee reduction, very important that I use that phrase, because that's how it's done.
Yeah.
The fee reduction can be in certain categories of the fee applied to certain categories of development. So that's where maybe some of your flexibility comes in. So, but let them know if you want to see that, because that's.
Does that give him enough?
is that enough time? Isaac?
Okay,
Good.
so motion to table this item until the second meeting in February.
Second.
Councilmember Abram.
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz.
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips.
Yes. Thank you. Passes 4-0. Okay, moving on. Folks, I pulled item 11E from the agenda, or it was pulled this evening. I'm happy to open public comment. Is anybody here on 11E wishing to speak? Okay, closing public comment on 11E. Moving on to 11F. Mr. Fisher, you get another turn too.
Good evening again. The item you have before you tonight is for the purchase of water meters. This item requests the City Council to approve an agreement with Badger Meter for the purchase of water meters, authorize a contract of 4 years with an optional 1-year extension, approve a not-to-exceed contract amount of $6,218,334.28. The agreement identifies the city contract 2026-119 as the result of RFP number 25-010. All costs will be expensed from Fund 420 Water. Purpose of this is the city operates and maintains a municipal water distribution system serving residents, commercial businesses, industrial customers. Portions of the city's existing water meter inventory are nearing the end of their useful life. We're looking at a larger project of replacing all the meters and metering infrastructure. This allows us to purchase the water meters directly and avoid markup charges for any of the contractors. The advances in water meter technology provide improved efficiency, accuracy, and reliability. Replacing them really benefits us because it allows us accurate water billing, improved monitoring, improves our water conservation efforts, and aids us with our ongoing regulatory compliance. In December 12th of 2025, we issued RFP 25010 to procure the water meters. We were met with 7 proposals. We received from the following firms: Meter and Valve Control, Badger Meter, iFlow, Ferguson, Waterworks, Metron, I can't remember all 7 of them. Next meters and Cassie flow control. An evaluation committee reviewed and scored proposals based on the criteria outlined in the RFP, which was technical qualifications, experience, product performance, reliability, cost and overall value, references, and past performance. Badger Meter Incorporated received the highest overall score and was determined to provide the best overall value to the city. The scope of the agreement provides the purchase of water meters on an as-needed basis over the contract term. These meters will be used to support the system-wide replacement and the upgrade efforts. The agreement establishes pricing terms and conditions for future purchases during the contract period. There is no guaranteed minimum purchase requirement. Purchase will be made based on operational needs and available funding. It is anticipated that we will use approximately $500,000 this fiscal year, 25-26. All costs will be expensed for 20. Sufficient funds remain. Future expenditures will be requested through the normal budgeting process, and there is no general impact fund. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions about it.
So this is just purchasing the water meters. They will be installed by city staff?
They'll be in conjunction with city staff on an as-needed basis, but they will be used to support the larger infrastructure replacement program that will be bringing back to the council very soon.
And, you know, even though we're long away from COVID, but like procuring things has taken time. Are these available? We can order one tomorrow and you can get what you need right away?
Most of the meters are within 2 weeks. There are some of the larger mag meters that will take like 4 to 6 weeks. Some of them might be as 20-week lead time, but that's pretty standard with the very large meters. We don't anticipate the bulk of this to replace the very large meters. They're going to be the residential meters.
Okay. And this is going to ultimately address the gentleman's concern that we had at public comment, right?
Great question.
Yeah, this is the first step in this very, very big project that we're excited to bring to you.
Okay.
So excited.
I can't wait for the other steps because I want that to not happen anymore. So,
Let's get this road on the show.
Councilmember? Councilmember? No, let's open it to the public. Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Come on up, John. Say something good.
Nothing to say, it's just how much is it going to cost the individual thing, if you know, is it going to be a one-time fee or a monthly fee, or is it not going to cost us anything? And just curiosity, is it, I mean, when we replaced the meters, what was that, 20 years ago or whatever, they had to come in and do quite a bit of work. Is this going to be just swapping them out, or is it more involved than that when they do it?
Sure.
Yes, I do recall when we replaced the meters, or when we initially got the meters, it was done just house by house, which really made it convenient because it saves time. And I believe it was the company itself that did the installation. So do we have the manpower to do these industrial size meters, to put these industrial size meters into operation? And is it just going to be a hit and miss? Or are we going to go down a street and complete one street at one time? We don't just go from this street to that street to, that's a concern. I think we want to make it efficient. We don't want to waste money or have our staff waste time because they have to run all over town instead of just doing it one after another and making it kind of a roll. That's my question. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, closing public comment. Are you down for some organized chaos, or how are we going to do this?
Oh, yeah. The larger project's currently in design, and it's meant to do just that. We're going to fix all of the failing AMIs we have right now. In the next sections will be a strategic deployment. It'll be done by the contractor. Yes. The other question is if any large meters can be done by staff. They're so small in numbers, they can easily be done by staff and programmed by staff, so we can do those on an as-needed basis. With the majority of the water meters being the residential that we're going to be replacing. The cost will be observed in our current budget. I can't think of the exact number per meter or exact dollar amount per meter, but they're nominal in price when compared to their lifespan. I think that the average price of them about $300 per house. per meter. And then swapping them out, that will be, basically, we'll be unbolting your meter, current meter, in your meter boxes in the front and replacing it with a new one, fitting a new AMI system to that and possibly changing the lid depending on what kind of meter lid you have.
Thank you. Follow-up question, perhaps I misunderstood. I think Mr. Gebeline's question was how much is it gonna cost the user to get a new water meter? That's not 300 per,
That's the cost of the meter, so.
that's the cost to us.
Yeah,
The city.
I mean, I couldn't give you that.
We're
number
not there
right
yet.
now. We're not
Okay,
there yet.
yep.
I think as soon as we have a firm scope and an engineer's estimate, could be able to.
Or for further clarification, are you talking, okay, so at my house, I get a new meter. Am I billed for that meter?
No, you won't be billed for that meter. Yep.
That was the question.
I
And
misunderstood.
if we had a $300 cost of a meter, is somebody gonna get smacked with a $300 bonus on their bill? Just me? Oh, thanks, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Sure. She's so nice.
Only one, yeah, just one.
Just me. Good? All right, what's the will?
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Abram. Yes. Councilmember Pixel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz.
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips.
Yes. Thank you. Passes 4-0. And Mr. Fisher, why don't you stay right there? Bring it on home.
All right. Tonight, I want to talk again about City Project 25017, speed lumps at the Berkeley roundabouts. The City Project 25017 proposed installing speed lumps at two locations along the Berkeley Avenue to reduce excessive speeds while maintaining emergency access. Some residents have reported ongoing speed and collision concerns at the Berkeley roundabouts. The project was previously presented at the last meeting on January 13, and it was brought back to for further discussion and clarification. The item is returning with additional context focused on traffic behavior, safety data, and risk considerations to support the council deliberation. As discussed, there's a disproportional amount of accidents that happen at the Chandler intersection. The northbound lane of Berkeley and Chandler, they represent about 63% of all reported crashes. And the Springer was a representative of about 21%, and Dancer at 16%. We looked at computer-aided dispatch records, and resident-provided videos indicate additional crashes that did not meet the reporting criteria, but we didn't account for those in that data because it was unreliable amongst the other ones. The data reflects a localized issue rather than a corridor-wide program or wide pattern. The next slides will be focusing on the speed data and the driver habits. All the speeds listed are the monthly median speeds, the 85th percentile, which is what we commonly use when we're looking at traffic patterns and safety. All the data is derived from Urban SDK software and is representative of an 18-month timeline. So it goes back about 18 months. So we start in May of 24, and we haven't got January's numbers in, so we ended December of 25. We looked at 3 different parameters on all the 6 traffic circle entry points in the Berkeley corridor, so 3 northbound, 3 southbound. What we found was that 5 of the 6 represented the same overall pattern. Now, if you look at the graph here, we looked at the approach speeds, which is the yellow line on the left hand. The entry speeds is the point at which they should already be slowed down to make the entry into the circle, and the entry speeds. This is indicative of the 5 of the 6, so all of them except for the northbound entry into Chandler. What you see here is you have your approach speeds. That's in the blue. That's represented at that point. They're beginning to decelerate. And what we would see in the entry speeds in the 80, that would be the red. We see that they have decelerated to a point where they should be, indicated, and then following through the traffic circle, they've accelerated through the intersection at the apex of the curve. So what it says is they've entered the corridor, they've decelerated, they're aware, they're making entry into the intersection with reduced speeds as far as what we want them to do in those corridors. The next slide represents the Berkeley and Chandler intersection. And this is for the northbound side. The main difference on this one to all the rest is the entry speeds in the red. They're significantly higher, where they were the lowest on the other intersections. And it really demonstrates a lack of speed control, and the drivers are decelerating all the way through the entire intersection, meaning they're never reaching a spot in which they feel comfortable to enter the intersection. They're just moving all the way through it and braking the entire time, which indicates the same, which we see approach speeds are about 25% higher at this intersection than all of the other intersections, and then the entry speeds are about 12% higher than that of all the other intersections. It demonstrates that drivers are driving faster, braking later, and navigating with a lesser degree of control. The area indicated by the two blue arrows represents the period where the temporary speed bump was installed. And like we discussed last time, the initial effect was that it lowered the overall speeds, but as the drivers got acclimated to that, they began to creep up in speeds. And then the second blue arrow on the right is when the temporary speed bumps were removed, and you can see that the behavior went back to the way it was prior to that, which being 25% of the other one, of the other intersections. We also discussed last time that the city has made significant visibility improvements and they have helped with the awareness. They did not really influence the speed data. Those improvements went in before the speed bumps, where you can see the speed bumps influenced the speed data. And if they did very slightly, and it was really, it was very difficult to tell. Which speed bumps provided become less effective and they actually began to fail at that point because the speeds were so high. Some of the bolts came loose, and there were some concerns with some motorcycle drivers in water. The speed bumps, they'll provide a permanent solution. They'll be a better option than what was temporarily installed. Staff is recommending that we award the bid and approve the agreement with Dynamic Pavement for the project, and also determine the project is exempt from CEQA. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember.
Yes, so can you clarify what a lump is compared to a bump? And it's not gonna be a hump, and it's different than what was there before.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
not to
very
be confused with a bump.
Right. A speed bump is a shorter, narrower ramp. It typically is a noisier process. It's really meant for really slow areas like parking lots and those types of things. A speed bump is a little bit wider, and it's less, I guess, offensive when the driver navigates it, and it has slightly less noise when you're going over it because of the more gradual ramping. A speed lump is designed to allow for emergency vehicle access. It's split into 3 different sections. It's a lot wider. It might be a touch taller, but it's meant to really minimize the noise and make sure the emergency vehicle access can get through there easily.
Just to clarify, you showed the data for Berkeley and Dancer that was less problematic than Berkeley and Chandler, but this item is for 2 lumps, right?
is.
One on the northbound Berkeley just south of Chandler, and the other just south of Taylor.
Yeah, indicated by the 2 yellow circles. That is
Okay.
correct, yeah.
Got it, okay.
And comparing what you're talking about putting in here, how does that compare with what is on West Tuolumne?
These would be a lot friendlier.
Oh, yeah.
We can compare this one to the one that's in the Paseos. It'll be exactly that one.
Okay, good. Councilmember. All right, let's open it to the public. Mr. Mickelson, I know I've got lots of emails. Come on up, sir. I know you want to talk.
I first want to say that I don't like speed bumps or humps. I don't want any more in the city, anywhere, certainly not in front of my house, where the noise would disturb the quality of my, for me and my neighbors. I'm also an owner who lives in a neighborhood on North Berkeley, right? One or more of my neighbors complained about the speed and accidents at a nearby roundabout, requested the city to do something about it. The city has a traffic calming program for these requests that requires a procedure before putting speed bumps. And I believe that should apply to my neighborhood. The city shouldn't have waived those provisions put there to protect the city from charges of lack of concern for affected residents or the lack of transparency. It shouldn't matter if the complainers didn't specifically request a speed hump. The city decided for them. The bottom line is the city chose a hump in favor of one or more residents over others who are objecting or have objected, without complying with its program or good business practice. Who represented us residents opposed to speed bumps when the executive team and the risk management team decided to back engineering's project? It's not right that the city bureaucracy can meet behind closed doors and say they know what's best for Turlock residents. We don't need their opinion, don't need to bother getting their input. In this case, it was decided to protect reckless drivers from themselves and certain property owners. To heck with responsible drivers who will be frustrated experiencing a rough ride on Berkeley. 1,000 or more a day? I don't know. To approve these humps this way is a black mark if the city wants to be known as fair and transparent. These bumps will not be very effective. Barely, the more severe temporary hump slowed traffic, 5 miles an hour, and these aren't supposed to be, as traumatic. There should be time to get the answers to the questions I've sent you and start the neighborhood and community involvement in the decision on the humps.
Thank
Please
you.
table or defer your funding until this happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mickelson. Anybody else? Come on up.
You've given good evidence, Milt Treeweiler, you've given us good evidence that it's necessary to do something. So we know we need to do something. There's no question about that. And we don't want to spend $200,000 doing it. I don't know, there are options in that regard. But you mentioned Tuolumne. You mentioned it. But you said Tuolumne didn't work. I go down Tuolumne and that works. I mean, I like Tuolumne. I can't go over those more than 20 miles per hour. And, it slows me down. I don't think you should put in 10 of them like they've done on Tuolumne. It's a little bit overkill. I don't know what it does to the fire trucks. Obviously they can get over them. It's not that bad at 20 miles per hour. You just, it just takes you over. So I guess there are maybe 3 kinds of bumps then? The one that you put in temporarily, the one that you're talking about putting in, and the one that's on Tuolumne. I like the one on Tuolumne. I don't know why that wouldn't work. But something needs to be done because there's an issue there. So we have to get it done. So we just have to work out a solution.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Buffer, long time no see.
Thank you. Bob Puffer, Turlock. What of the 19 vehicles you had accidents with, how many were 4-wheel and how many were 2-wheel? Do we know? I think Tuolumne and Minnesota are horrible, and they way overbuilt those humps. So if these ones that you're putting in at this one are a lot safer than retrofit and take out the old ones and put something that people can go down Tuolumne. It's a collector street. It's not supposed to be a neighborhood residential street anyway. Lastly, has anybody thought about putting dragon's teeth instead of a hump? Like at Costco where you go up to the concrete and it has those dragon's teeth over there so the kids won't ride their skateboards on it. That would wake a person up, tell them maybe slow down, and it certainly wouldn't be as uncomfortable as going over a bump or a hump or a rump or whatever you want to call it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you for having the opportunity to speak. I'm
Sure.
75, so I need to take my notes because I forget things really easily.
All right.
Okay. So I moved into the neighborhood about 17 years ago because I really loved the neighborhood. It was peaceful, it was quiet. It's a wonderful place to live. You know, I even checked the backyard because Berkeley's busy, but I couldn't hear any noise whatsoever. So I understand that, and support the city's goal of traffic safety, and also to appreciate the work that goes into protecting, you know, pedestrians alike. So, and I believe in serve and protect. I did 23 years with law enforcement, so I know what that's about. And safety is not the issue here for me, but the placement of the proposed speed bumps is what is. When the previous one was put in there, it's like right in front of my bedroom door, you know? And I mean, I know it's meant to slow people down, but one of the things is that Turlock has a lot of trucks. Now, when those people go over those bumps and the back of the bed hits, there's a clanging, all right? And it's a loud clanging. And most truck drivers figure out I can go over at this speed and I'm good, and then I can kind of go from there. Now, in relationship to that, a truck with a trailer, it's major noise, major noise. So, so rather than really slowing them down, what really happened is that it just created louder and louder noises, you know? And it's right by my bedroom. And I'm a deep sleeper, but because of the clanging, it wakes me up a lot, or it woke me up a lot. It's gone now. I was so glad when they were gone. I'm going, thank you, Lord, you know? But now they're resurfacing. I didn't know the whole process behind it because I didn't follow it. It also interrupts the backyard now, because we could be out there, you know, having a barbecue or something with the family or friends or whatever, and all of a sudden you hear this clanging, and everybody goes, what's that? Oh, that's a truck and a trailer or a truck or whatever it might be. So, it's also, you know, selfishly, it's probably not a great selling feature, okay? And it could devaluate my property if I go to sell it. I just respectfully ask you to consider, is the speed bump the most appropriate solution at that specific location? As you all know of the location, prior to that, there's a great big old soccer field there from Monte Vista Church. And in that soccer field, there's a lot of pedestrians out there, there's a lot of kids playing, a lot of times the soccer ball goes out in the street. I'm just asking, could relocating it there, you know, be more effective and also be able to, you know, reach your goal of what you're trying to do and to slow people down. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak? All right, we're going to close public comment. You got all those questions, Director Fisher?
I think so.
Do you need Director Lohr for backup?
Yeah, probably. Regarding the placement, the Manual for Uniform Traffic Code recommends a minimum distance of 100 feet from the hazard up to 300 feet from the hazard, 200 being the maximum. The last placement was 200 feet from the maximum, and then also placing them forward takes them out of the corridor with the current traffic calming devices, which is problematic because the speeds are a little bit higher if you put them back there. The question between 2- and 4-wheel drive, they don't give that information on any of the reports unless there is, and I just didn't look at it. Dragon's Teeth, I think at one point in time they put the rumble strips in a point, and the noise impact of that is really significant. And it's definitely much more significant than a speed bump. And, you know, again, I'll reiterate that the speed lump design is meant to minimize the noise to the least amount possible. And I think that was all of the questions. Did I miss one?
No.
The traffic calming procedure?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Does that apply?
Yes, and the traffic calming procedure, I mean, really at the point where the city is made aware of a safety issue, the traffic calming procedure doesn't take away the city's authority to make changes when they see. So the city cannot really responsibly outsource the safety responsibility to a petition process when they have due notification of a safety hazard.
Director Lohr, anything to add? Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
I know Director Fisher brought up 19 accidents within a 5-year period. I was able to substantiate that there were 34 over a 10-year period, so that's almost 3.5 accidents in that area per year. I did see the videos. I watched several videos from concerned residents at that location, and you can clearly see vehicles flying through that roundabout, basically jumping through it. I did see a few of the videos go on to the sidewalk areas, and I know we had a gentleman here earlier talking about concerns for pedestrians. I thought, and you know, there's definitely concerns, safety concerns from my perspective, which, you know, lends itself to liability concerns. And as the risk management director, you know, I've conferred with our RMA, and so I think we've addressed the visibility issues. You heard data tonight that there's still speed concerns. So I think, you know, I think it behooves us to put some sort of speed mechanism in place to reduce the speeds through there.
Sure.
The other thing I wanted to mention, the crosswalk is right at the entry zone of these roundabouts. And as you heard, the speed going through there, they're not slowing down until they actually get into the circle part. And it's, I think that would be our worst nightmare is a pedestrian walking through there, either on the sidewalk or the crosswalk, and somebody get hit. It's probably going to be catastrophic. And just to defend one of these lawsuits is about $750,000. That's if we win. You know, we're hearing about nuclear verdicts. So I'm very concerned from a risk management standpoint about not addressing the speed.
And risk management concurs this is the best course of action for the city?
The RMA.
The RMA?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're very supportive of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What's the will of council?
Well, I just wanted to comment, you know, I requested that this item be brought back and we got to flesh this out a little bit. And I really appreciate you doing that and showing all of this. And, you know, I just want to say that we have, traffic circles are supposed to be traffic calming, but traffic's not being calmed by them. So we have an ineffective measure and we have to do more. And I'm very receptive to the concerns of noise. I do believe that this is going to be better than what the neighborhood has experienced before in terms of noise. And so I think for the general good, I think we have to have a lump in these two locations. So I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your work and your efforts. Council member comments, announcements, and future items. Can we do them all together in one shot?
I don't have any.
Nothing? I just want to say welcome to our 7 new firefighters. It's nice to have them on board. Council member? Madam Clerk?
We have 13, item 13A, Public Employee Resignation, Discipline, Dismissal, Release, California Government Code 54957. B, Conference of Labor Negotiations, California Government Code 54957.6A, Agency Designated Representative, Interim City Manager Sue Borrego. Employee organization is Turlock Management Association, Public Safety.
Thank you. We will report out if we need to.